So Charlie,
yeah.
Wonderful occasion to be recording your music once again.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to do this piece and the title and to continue our little relationship in this context?
Well, the title's On Beauty, so it was kind of a contemplation on what is beautiful in what I do and what we do collectively. Basically what I did was I listened to Subliminal Leaps, our first record, and tried to extract the most beautiful things that I thought musically were within the music. Usually it's you improvising on a polychord and me holding a high note. And that was usually the most beautiful things that to my ear. So that's where I started. So if you know, it's movement one is kind of like that. And then we depart to the great abyss, but that's where the title comes from, On Beauty. Contemplation on Beauty.
Contemplation on Beauty. And of course, again, we're doing it with Ron Stabinsky on piano and Tony Marino on bass. No drums, so this is unusual, chamber-like. I mean, what moved you to decide not to do the norm, more of the normal?
Well, the first record was in a church, so drums would not have helped. But even beyond that, I feel that the baritone gets lost in the drums many times. So I feel like, so that's number one, is timbre. Number two is where my direction was going toward your language, polychords, some free improvisation, things like that. Getting rid of the drums, allowing the harmony to speak, allowing the piano to speak, and how we intertwine with it.
Yeah, because once you take the drums away, you do get more clarity of all instruments. And
detail and everything, yeah.
But on the other hand, drums is the lifeline of jazz, so it's a consideration. And you know, when we play in this kind of context, it's without drums, it is unusual. Because that's more of course, more of the norm, you know, that kind of thing. Ask you about just without the drums and with the piano therefore becoming even more rhythmic in its role besides as the harmonic entity. How do you think about sustaining rhythmic interest when you do not have drums, which is so explicit rhythmically? That's what the drums do.
It's difficult. I think the bass is a big part of that. In certain movements, there's you know, some march type improvisation with a, you know, kind of bitonality going on, and the bass kind of drives it, the bass and the piano. A lot of it is rubato, so it's difficult. Are we going to keep metric? A lot of times we don't. A lot of times we're very floating with the time. That's kind of what the music has become.
That's a big thing. The music is, I think, more on this record even than the last one, harmonically very dense. You know, and Ron, he's very good at that. He's equipped with that kind of playing, knows how to play that style. How do you think it is perceived from the listener standpoint when they hear this kind of harmony over a certain amount of time? It's like listening to Schoenberg for an hour. I mean, what takes place? What do you think takes place in the listener's mind?
Well, I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, think, of course.
I think if you can get that expression on some of the holds on some even if it's a complex chord, if you can get to a fermata or an ending section with some improvisation and some beauty after some chaos, after some dense material, I think it could transfer over to the audience. I hope, anyway.
You've been playing baritone, what, 12 years, 15 years? How long since we've started this?
20, I think.
20 years. Now you have, just from a technical standpoint, without getting too technical for this particular situation, what we call the altissimo range on the saxophone is that very high range above the authentic, let's say, the conventionals, fingerings, the way the saxophone was built 200 years ago, by the way. We are in his anniversary year.
Oh, wow.
Adolf Sax, 1814. How did you develop the ability to go up? Because you are up and, up in top land there for that horn. That's extremely difficult to do in the baritone.
Well, it's a decades-long development, no doubt. When I was in school, everybody was into guys like Mark Turner playing very fluidly, more of a traditional straight-ahead type fluidity through. So all the tenor guys were playing kind of like him. or Warren Marsh, someone like that.
Yeah.
And of course I was into the technique, but then as I matured and got older, I tried to make the notes sound prettier. Vibrato and get a tuner out, and go note by note.
Right.
And then when I started getting into this harmony, the top over here, you can see, the top of the chord really worked with the higher the note. I'm like, this is your harmony. So the higher the note, the better the harmony would work. Yeah. And then it just kind of developed from there as being the top range, the most beautiful for this harmony.
Right, and you play it very elegantly and very lyrically, and
Thank you.
And it can be, you know, I think in the old days with the saxophone, when it was employed, it was in effect R&B, very effective in R&B for obvious, you know, showmanship, and also for the power of that high D or F or G or whatever. But of course, since Coltrane, and he really incorporated it into the almost, say, everyday language of jazz, and after that, of course, it became the norm, and now, you know, 6-year-old kid can play 40 octaves, you know, it's like, so it appears, you know. But I think it's remarkable that the kind of work you had to do to get that, and I just, anybody watching this should realize that that's, when they hear the music, that's quite a feat to get up there. I mean, I still deal with it with soprano especially, and it's very, very difficult, you know. But I give you a lot of credit for hitting hard on that. I'm curious about considerations that you have to think about now for the second record, in general, between the soprano and the baritone. I mean, they are the complete opposite ends of the saxophone family, except for, of course, there are other stranger ones. But writing for that combination, it's kind of unique. I mean, what kind of things do you have to take account for? What are you thinking when you're
Well, the first record I wanted to play with you, exit off my bucket list. And then it went so well, I thought, in my opinion. And the blending of the instruments, I thought, was so great. The soprano and the baritone, strikingly great, I thought, that I wanted to do it again. It was like I needed another hit. So on the baritone and the soprano, and the uniqueness of the combination, I think Ron was the one that told me the only other, maybe it was Dan Blake, the only other CD that I know is Charles Davis and the great Steve Lacy from years ago. That's about the only other one I know.
Very good.
So not only the instruments, but of course you, and hopefully I'm becoming unique.
Appropriate, because Steve Lacy's 10th anniversary is as we speak of his passing, and tomorrow night I'll be playing a Steve Lacy tribute at Roberta's Woodman's with Sam Newsom as a soprano player, and the drums and bass, celebrating the guy who, in the end, is the king of the horn. I mean, he's in our context, you know, what he.
I'm talking about altissimo, yeah.
I mean, what he did was unbelievable. And, you know, he did it right from the beginning, and after he played clarinet, he went right to the soprano. And he, of course, you know, when you think of Coltrane, I mean, the story I heard just was, might as well tell it here, but Lacy, I asked Lacy, we did a duet concert, I've told you that story, and we had dinner, and I said, you know, I had to ask him about Train. I had to. That's my guy, you know. He said, I said, how did he get to the soprano? Well, what did you think? I mean, how did this all happen? You know what I mean? He said, well, of course, Don Cherry was a friend of mine, and was working with Coltrane. And, you know, there's that record, The Avant-Garde, with Cherry and Coltrane. So it was probably around 59, 60. So it fits, the timing fits. And he said, and Coltrane was, he called Coltrane on the phone, and they were in a club, and they were playing, and Steve was playing, and Coltrane said, "What's that?" to Don, to Cherry. Cherry said, "Oh, that's Steve Lacy playing soprano." I said, "Soprano sax? I haven't thought about that in years, man. That's like Sidney Bechet. Who's playing soprano?" He said, "Oh, Steve. Oh, yeah, man." He said, "Yeah, maybe I ought to think about messing around with one of those." So that's you know, that's what Steve said anyway.
The day Lacy died, you were at the Deerhead with Mark Copeland.
Is that right?
And I just sent you my first CD, which was Straight Ahead at Queens College, you know, just getting my feet wet. And you're at the bar, you're having a drink, and I stroll up, and I was like, "Hello, sir." And Lacy had just died, and I didn't know it, and you just go, "You weren't playing the changes. What's wrong with you?" I was disappointed. And then you complimented my sound or whatever.
Oh, it's always something good.
It's like, "Your sound." And he said, "Karis, like, this is baritone." But he's like, I was disappointed, you know. That was the day Lacy died. I was like, wrong day to ask him about how I'm doing. And then you played with Copeland at the Deerhead.
Oh, very good memory. Nice one.
I'm not going to forget those.
would be next? What would you follow us up with? Say we're sitting here a year and a half from now.
Okay. Well, maybe maybe a break. I mean, I love the band. I want to develop this, but maybe a break
Maybe
from
a piano? I mean, a drum set, I mean?
Maybe a second overdub
Uh-huh.
entitled Tenor is Dead.
Meaning? You...
Just a provocative, but overdub me, because I had my first King of All Instruments, if you recall, the overdub CD.
Okay. Oh,
from
yes, that's right.
Maybe
Your solo record.
7-8 years ago.
Correct, that's right.
So I could take, because that's where I really started developing this, when I hurt my back. I couldn't play, so I was here and reading your book a million times in a row. And I made the overdub stuff alone, and I developed that one. And that was the first page into your world, into this world.
Right, right.
You know.
So you would like to do an overdub record?
I'm thinking at some point it needs another one.
Beautiful.
You know. Tenor is Dead.
Tenor is dead. Well, in your hands, the baritone is in good shape.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
job, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the gentleman also. Thank you.